What up? You were live and direct on Petty Sports, the podcast. It's your boy, the host, Famous Fees. They call me Facts. Y'all see I'm riding dolo tonight. My man Adam had some things to take care of, so he couldn't make it in here today, but he might hit you with a phone call, so y'all stay tuned for that. But, man, as always, I got a crazy lineup for you. It's mostly NFL, but I'm going to break up the monotony for you just a little bit tonight. There's a little bit of NBA action in here and a little bit of boxing. So, I'm always keep it funky with you. I got a lot to talk about. I'm sure y'all all saw that game Sunday night with the Patriots and the Bradys, or some people call them the Bucks. So I'm going to definitely break that thing down for you. But, man, as I tell you, every single weekend, get your popcorn ready, get you a good stick, get you a good drink. Before I jump all the way into it, got to give my man Adam a one-up right quick. He just passed his real estate exam. He's officially a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Georgia, so we're going to toast to him one time on that. Congrats, pimp. Yes, sir. Span off the top. We got to start off with this lineup for Super Bowl 56 for the halftime show. I know you thought I was going to talk about the game. No, we ain't there yet. But, man, they officially announced the lineup. Rock Nation has put together an all-star cast for the Super Bowl 56 halftime show. I mean, we getting Dr. Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, and Mary J. Blige. I mean, that is a superstar-studded lineup. 43 Grammys between them. 22 number one albums on the Billboard. And we getting all of them on the stage at one time. I mean, they're setting a precedent right now for the Super Bowl halftime show that I'm not even sure if they're going to be able to actually match that. Like, who are you going to bring in next year that's going to be able to compete with that? I mean, I know it's in L.A., basically in Inglewood, in SoFi. So, I mean, that's why you got the L.A. folks out there. But, I mean, then you brought in Eminem and Mary J. It's like, yo, halftime is going to be crazy. Like, you thought you was going to go to the bathroom, go outside, have a smoke, do whatever it is you do now. You got to see the halftime show. Like, this could be epic, especially if they decide to come with new music. Like, I'm all the way for that. Like, that could be a number one album in the making just between them. If they do a song apiece and a couple of collabs, like, that would be the Super Bowl album. I mean, I'm definitely excited about that thing. I'm really wondering, like, what's he going to do for an encore in Super Bowl 57? That one's going to be in Glendale, Arizona. So I don't really, off the top of my head, I can't think of any local rappers or even artists that came from Arizona or even in the area. So they had to pull somebody from close. But, you put Jay-Z on the ones and twos. He's the one pulling the strings. He's making that thing happen. I'm pretty sure he's going to get some straight headliners out there. He might pull his wife onto the stage for the halftime this time again. Who knows what he's going to do. But I got definite confidence that he's going to go, like, he's going to bring through another straight banger. That's a crazy lineup. So, we're going to jump in to the actual NFL action. Week 4, my bad. Week 4 was crazy. It was a lot of good games, but we got to start off with the game of the week. It was everybody tuned in all week long. All you heard anyone talk about, Tom Brady's return to Foxboro to face the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick. It was a straight-up chess match. It was emotional. There was a lot going on in this game. So, what I want to get you with right now is whether or not Bill Belichick or Tom Brady proved to have the more savvy NFL brain in this game. And as we watched this thing unfold, you saw New England was winning the game for most of the game. And that points, like, all arrows and eyes point to Bill Belichick in that instance. New England played way better than anyone actually expected them to play. Tampa Bay won the game 19-17, but the game was tight. Brady went 22 of 43 for 269 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. So it was just kind of a vanilla game for Tom. His team put up 19 points, but that defense was very formidable. And he actually got outplayed by Mac Jones if you just look at the side-by-side performance. Mac balled out. 31 of 40, like the dude was 77.5% completion percentage, had 275 yards and 2 touchdowns, and his one interception was off a tip pass that he tried to force into Jacoby Myers, which he probably could have caught But, I mean, it was a third down. It was a third and long. It got tipped way back. So it actually served more like a punt than actually an interception. He went for a 101.6 QB rating. I mean, Mac Jones did everything that he was asked to do. He drove him down the field. It's like, hey, they missed a devastatingly long 56-yard field goal in disgusting weather conditions by a doink because the ball actually hit the upright. I think I can still hear the sound. It's haunting me in my dreams every day because we could taste it. Like I sat up here last week and I told you I wouldn't be surprised if we got beat 52-6. The way we played in that game against Tampa, I felt like New England was going to win it all the way until they didn't. But I would be lying to you if I didn't keep it all the way real with you. There were 59 seconds left in the game when New England missed that field goal. If New England had, in fact, made that field goal and gone up 20-19, Brady would have gotten the ball back with about 50 seconds left and a timeout, down by 1 point. So chances are they probably still would have driven down the field and kicked the field goal and won the game. But nevertheless, they showed up. It was very promising. What we saw out of Mac Jones was light years different from what we saw the week before. Because if you follow me on Facebook and you watched me last week, right after the Saints game, I was like, yo, can somebody please get Cam Newton on this telephone? Like, it was looking bad. Mac restored the faith in Mac Jones on Sunday night on prime time in a nasty game in bad weather conditions, and he was under duress the entire time. In 40 dropbacks, he got hit 12 times and got sacked 4 times. So, I mean, 30% of his dropbacks, he got hit. He was throwing the ball with people in his face, and he was delivering. At one point, had 19 straight completions. So, I mean, my hat's off to Mac this time. As much trash as I talked about you last week, you good with me now. We got to see some consistency out here. But after week 4, we good. He stood tall in the pocket. But, I mean, like, for all things, when you look at the way this whole game went, I mean, Belichick's defense held the number 1 offense in football coming into week 4 to 19 points. They were averaging 38 points per game when you held them to 19. So, I mean, that was a gargantuan defensive performance and a masterpiece from Bill on the other side of the field. But outside of that, I know all y'all want to hear about just the whole Tom Brady back to Foxboro thing. Tom Brady does a podcast every Monday night. Monday evening, Monday night, whatever. He does it on Mad Dog Sports, and he talks about the game the past week and the upcoming game. When they asked him about being in New England, he was like, it was very emotional. So when he flew into the stadium, when he flew into Boston, say it was the same bus drivers that he always had, same security staff, same people in the stadium, all of that staff. Seems like he knew everybody. Then when he walked in, he saw all his former teammates. They did that long tribute video for him before the game started. And as he walked out on the field, the crowd chanted Brady for like 2-3 minutes straight. There was plenty of New England fans in the house that had on their Patriot Brady jerseys. He got crazy love on his return to Foxboro. I mean, a lot of people were like, I think they'll boo him, or like maybe this or that. It was highly emotional. And he definitely acknowledged it when they asked him about it. They say, what was your favorite part of that game? He was like, when it was over. He said everything was so emotional leading into the week. It was impossible to act like it wasn't heavy. He got to talk to all of these guys. He's like, man, on the other side of the field, all of these guys, I did battle with them, and they were my guys, and they're my warriors, and he was with them for years and won championships with them. Then on the flip side, he's got his people from Tampa that he brought in with him. They just went to war with him and just brought a Lombardi in. I mean, he was very torn. There's a whole lot of emotions. But then to wrap the whole thing up, Bill Belichick went over to Tampa Bay's locker room after the game. Say he met privately with Brady for about 20-something minutes, and they just got to sit in there and chop it up. Say the Tampa players were like, they couldn't believe that Belichick was walking into their locker room, but everybody left out of there, and they just gave them some private time. He said they just really caught up. He was like, man, I've seen this dude like every day for the past 20 years, and since I left, I've not seen him since. So they just had a lot to talk about. Just chop up how they feel about how everything went, how things are going, whatever. I mean, he wasn't going to tell you specifics of what the actual conversation was about, but the gist of the whole weekend and the whole experience up there, it was all warm. Everybody in New England welcomed him. He got the win. I mean, there is a question of if they had lost that game, would he have met with him? Because we have all talked about how after he loses Super Bowls, he does not shake hands with the quarterback who beat him. But, I mean, that's all childish anyway. Man, I don't think that would have been the same had that happened in this circumstance, just because, I mean, the dude spent 20 years there. I'm pretty sure it wasn't going to be that. So, I mean, all in all, it was a really well-played game by New England. Tampa pulled it out. Can't be mad at it. So we're going to move on to the next one because I'm not going to give you any more of that. So we got to talk about America's team. How about them Cowboys? The Dallas Cowboys are 3-1 through 4 weeks, if you can believe that. I mean, we all knew that the NFC East was weak, but the Cowboys are 3-1. They're looking like legitimate contenders. They're really looking like the 2016 Dallas Cowboys that were run heavy and relying on Zeke. Granted, it's not all Zeke. There is a heavy dose of Tony Pollard mixed into that. But Zeke is top 5 in the league in rushing. And what we saw to this game last week, they ran the ball a lot. This was not one of those Dak Prescott 50 passes, 400-yard performances. Dak only went like what Dak only had 188 yards passing. He did throw for 4 touchdowns, but his passing yards were very pedestrian. He only threw the ball 22 times. This was very, very much so like the formula of what they were doing in their first 3 years when Dak was just throwing, like he was throwing very safe passes. They were running the ball, had the best offensive line in the entire NFL. But now you've got the emergence of this actual defense. Their last 2 draft picks are really starting to pan out. Between Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons, they hit straight-up home runs on both of them. I mean, Diggs at this point in the season is the best cornerback in the NFL, and Parsons is looking very good. I mean, Dallas exploded in the third quarter on Carolina. It was a tight game, and it was a very good Carolina team that they were playing on both sides of the ball. But Dallas put up 20 points in the third quarter, and they opened up a 33-14 lead, and that basically ultimately proved to be too much moving into the fourth quarter. I mean, they had Dallas rush the ball 34 times for 245 yards, and they actually only dropped back 22 times for 188. So they have definitely turned some kind of a corner. I mean, maybe they're actually tailoring the game plan to the teams that they're playing, which would also be very optimistic for a Cowboys fan if you're looking at what you guys are doing week to week. So, I mean, all things are pointing up for the Dallas Cowboys. They've got wins over the Chargers, who were 3-1. Wins over Carolina, who were 3-1. Coming up, you got the Giants, easy win. You're at New England. Not really sure which Patriots team will show up. If you get the one that played against Tampa, then that could be a tight game. If you get the one that played against the Saints, you could blow them out. We don't know. But you got Minnesota, Denver, ATL, and then at Kansas City. And Kansas City can't stop a nosebleed. Their rush defense is the worst, one of the worst in the entire NFL. It's been going into the bye week. They could possibly be 9-1, maybe 8-2. It could be a real serious year for the Dallas Cowboys. They are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. I'm not picking them to go to the bowl, but I think they'll be in the mix. Definitely, at the very least, divisional round, possibly NFC Championship. I just don't see anyone still beating Tampa because Tampa, I mean, any team that Brady is with seems to just progressively get better throughout the course of the year. And they're at 3-1 now. I can't imagine the Cowboys beating them. But I'm absolutely buying the Dallas Cowboys. And then buying the Cowboys, I'm not selling the Carolina Panthers because Sam Darnold actually did play a very good game. He was 26-39, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, but he also ran 2 more touchdowns. So, I mean, he accounted for all 4 touchdowns that they scored in this game. So, I mean, the Carolina Panthers, they played a very tough football game. Sam Darnold has showed that the issue in New York was not him. He had no line. He had no weapons. He had no defense. You get him in a good situation, now he's 3-1, battling with the big dogs, basically. I mean, hell, Dallas is a Super Bowl contender. You lost to them by 8 points. You in real battles now. Things have changed for Sam, and it's all just about the surroundings. I mean, the 2 interceptions that he threw were on Trayvon Diggs. One was a very bad read. One was just an amazing play for Trayvon, picking him off on an out route where most DBs in the league would not have gotten to that. So definitely hats off to the Dallas Cowboys, but I'm not scoffing at the Carolina Panthers either. Sitting at 3-1, I think they'll be fine. Definitely better than what I thought they would be this season. It's been our next game on the games of the week. The Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. On this one, I've had to start off this segment. I'm going to just tell you, I told you so. Everybody who was so highly sold on the L.A. Rams, they beat the Bucs, best team in football. You couldn't deny that they were the best team of football coming into last week. But what did I tell you last week? I told you they approached that game like it was their Super Bowl in week 3. They spent all their energy, blew the entire load. They ain't had nothing left for Arizona. The Arizona Cardinals came out in week 4 and just straight up dominated the Rams. Like all aspects of the game. I mean, Kyler Murray just had his way with them. 24-32. I mean, he damn near didn't have any incompletions. Went for 268 and 2 touchdowns. He had a 120 rating against what people were trying to say is the best defense in football, which it absolutely is not. But Chase Edmonds had 12 carries for another $120. And even though Pittsburgh reject James Conner had 18 carries for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, everybody out there, 8. It was a bad game for the Rams. I mean, for all Rams fans, I know you're going to be like, oh, you're a hater, this or that, because, I mean, y'all are all on the YouTube videos, and y'all are always highly upset at anything I say bad about Matthew Stafford. But Stafford did not produce for you. He had 2 flagrant overthrows on touchdowns. And that could have greatly changed the complexion of that game. 3rd down touchdown balls, overthrows, to where you either had to punt or kick field goals. And that's a problem. That is what Detroit Lion fans will tell you, that when the game gets hot and it's about that time, you start to get the overthrows and you get the real Matt Stafford. And that's who you're seeing right now. And even the numbers that Matt Stafford did put up, he went 26 of 41, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. A good percentage of those yards came on the last drive of the game. And when I say the last drive of the game, I mean they were down 37-13, and he went 6 of 7 for 69 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, with those yards, those are definitely what we would define as empty stats. His stats didn't even look that great, and he still had empty stats because they were getting smacked in that game. So now we look at it. Kyler Murray is definitely like far and away the runaway winner of the MVP award through 4 weeks. There's no contesting it. I mean, if you just look at what he's doing, 1,273 yards passing. He's 3rd in the NFL. 9 touchdowns, tied for 5th. 76.1 completion percentage, 1st in all of the NFL. And a 115 QB rating, which is 5th. So he's top 5 in every major QB, in every category right now. So we're not denying anything that has anything to do with Kyler Murray at this moment. Can't do it. So we got 2 more games on the weekend watch before we keep this thing moving. The Baltimore Ravens, they had a decisive win over the Denver Broncos. Wasn't really as decisive as the score. The defense completely shut Denver down. Defense was very one-dimensional. Lamar did actually flex his arm in this game. 316-yard passing and a touchdown, and he only had 7 carries. That was probably the bigger part. They gave Latavius Murray 18 carries. They finally stopped running Lamar Jackson into the dirt. So, I mean, that's been a problem. They run the man too much. And then there was a big fallout after the game about that last play that they called. Because there was 3 seconds left in the game, and they have this record that they were tying. with the 70s Pittsburgh Steelers for most consecutive 100-yard rushing games for a team. I mean, hey, it is what it is. They were already up 23-7. The game was over. They ran a play to the outside, got the 5 yards, went over. I mean, hey, some folks say, oh, like, it's distasteful. I mean, a record is a record. If we're talking about a record that's been alive since the 70s, you're mad at them for pushing to break it? Like, sounds like participation trophy type stuff. I mean, the best thing I can give you is what Belichick told the NFL in 2007 when they accused him of running up the score. If you don't like it, stop it. It's point blank. Y'all get paid to play. This ain't YMCA, rec league, none of that. If they decide they want to run another play while they're already up and the game is over, but there's still time left on the clock, then they can run another play. Then go cry to somebody else. I mean, what we saw is Denver hasn't played anybody. But we all knew that. They beat the Jets. They beat the Giants. And they beat the Jaguars? Yeah, I think that was your 3 wins. Like 3 of the worst teams in the entire NFL. That was your 3-0. Then you came out against Baltimore and you got completely shut down. Teddy Bridgewater played the first half, only threw for 65 yards. Then you put in Drew Lock. He gave you another $113. Piss poor performance. Baltimore's defense just straight up dominated the entire game. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do. Baltimore's upcoming schedule, it's looking pretty advantageous. I mean, they got the Colts, the Chargers, the Bengals. They're all divisional games. I mean, the Colts, they're not that good. The Chargers and the Bengals, the Chargers have proven to be a very good football team, and the Bengals, we're not quite sure yet because they haven't played anybody either. But we'll definitely see where the Baltimore Ravens fall out. They are a playoff team, but not a Super Bowl contender. I can't give them that much. That would just be taking it just a little bit too far. I'm going to have to see more out of the offense, have to see them beat real legitimate teams because I didn't have Denver in my top 10 when we did the power rankings just last week. So that lets you know what I think about them. So, man, it's 8:24. It is that time of the evening. Y'all already know what time it is. Every single week we do the tribute to Kobe right at 8:24. So I'm going to count the thing down for you. If y'all listening, go ahead and put up one hand. Shoot that J. Shoot the trash in the can for you one time. 3, 2, 1. Kobe. Rest in peace to the Black Mamba. Say, we never going to let that one go. We always going to show love to the Mamba. That's just what it is. That's how we do it around here. I'm trying to find y'all on my Facebook. I don't see you. I know y'all in there talking. But y'all can definitely hit me up on the petty line at 678-871-9602. And after I finish throwing this thing to Mike Beasley, when we come back, I'm going to take it to Lakerland and talk to y'all about Pau Gasol. So y'all stay tuned. Take it away, Beasley.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, what's good with you out there? We'd like to thank you for tuning in once again to the Petty Sports Show brought to you by KINGZ Broadcasting Studios. Share the show. Thank you. If you have already. If you haven't, what are you waiting on? Click that button. Share some love. Share it to a sports fan, somebody that can really appreciate the show. And you might be able to learn something out here, because Famous Facts Feed's doing his thizzle. Like he said earlier, Adam is not able to be here tonight, but we'll look forward to seeing him next week. Go to all the other different platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, all those places, iHeart, you know what I'm saying? Subscribe and download the previous shows that have been aired up to now. And this show will be up tomorrow, probably after 1 o'clock p.m., So do us that charge. I charge you to go and listen to the different podcasts that we have to date. And go subscribe. Like I said, hit those notification buttons, hit the thumbs ups, all the different emojis. We on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that, man. You know what I'm saying? Twitch, like right now, live, so we all over the place. If you're not able to find Petty Sports, you ain't looking. You know what I'm saying? So just type it in, Petty Sports with a Z, and it's all good. They'll pop up, you know what I'm saying, somewhere, and you can just tune in right away. KINGZBroadcasting.com. Hit them up. Go over there and spend some money with your boys. You know what I'm saying? Help us keep bringing forth this great content like we do every week. You know what I'm saying? Got the shirts, the tumblers, the hoodies, mugs, all that kind of stuff, man. They make great gifts. You know, the holiday season coming up soon, you know, so you can start making your list and checking it twice. You know what I'm talking about? And hit that donate button at the bottom of the page at the KINGZ Broadcasting. That's with a Z. KINGZBroadcasting.com. Hit the donate button. Share some of your loot with us, you know. No donation too small, no donation too big. And call in, like Famous Facts just said, 678-871-9602, 678-871-9602. That's how you can be a part of the program tonight. ATL, ho. Back to the regular schedule program.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As promised, we just did the Kobe tribute, so I'm going to keep this thing in Laker land. Y'all all heard Pau Gasol recently retired. After an illustrious 20-year career in the NBA, and we all know about all the accomplishments he had overseas in the EuroLeague. He's a surefire Hall of Famer, probably be first ballot in the Basketball Hall of Fame. But the question at hand here is, does he deserve to get his jersey retired in the Staples Center? The Lakers have already come out and said that they plan to retire Pau Gasol's jersey, and now there's been a slight uproar about it. But, there's only 10 players that have jerseys retired in Laker history and 11 jerseys between them, because we all know Kobe has 2. But just look at what Pau did in his 20 years in the league. He played 7 years with the Lakers. In his 7 years, he made the All-Star team 3 times, got 2 NBA championships. They went to 3. He made All-NBA second team 1 time. He made All-NBA third team 2 times. And we all know the only reason he wasn't getting first team is because Dwight Howard at that moment was the best center in the NBA, which he beat head-to-head in the finals. But that's who was getting the first team nods over him. So he was the next best center in the league during that span when they were winning. He averaged 17.7 points a game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. He had very formidable stats. And, you know what he did in the playoffs? He balled out. He was a very pivotal – he was a huge piece of why they were able to win that last little set of titles. Kobe wouldn't have got those titles had Pau not come. But even more so than saying that Kobe wouldn't have gotten those titles had Pau not come, Kobe would not have stayed a Laker had Pau not come to L.A. So if for nothing else, that jersey's got to go in the Raptors for keeping Kobe for the rest of his career. Kobe was demanding a trade at the time that they brought Pau in. He was unhappy. The team was not good. And he was trying to push out. Said the Bulls were his first choice. Brought in Pau Gasol. The rest was history. Went to 3 straight finals right after he got there. He definitely changed the culture. He kept the icon in there. And if for no other reason, got to put the jersey up just for bringing Kobe in. Now, the devil's advocate argument is, if we're just going off the accomplishments that he had as a Laker and the amount of time that he was there, will LeBron and AD get their jerseys retired also? And while I would say hell no, they haven't been there long enough and haven't done enough, if Pau's getting his jersey retired, it's extremely difficult to argue against when LeBron and AD leave, them both getting their jerseys in. Because I just gave you what Pau's numbers look like and his accomplishments just in L.A. Not for career. We're not talking about anyone's entire career. Just while they were in L.A. to get the jersey up. In LeBron's 3 years in L.A., he's got 26 points per game, 8 boards, and 9 assists per game. He's got a title, a Finals MVP, 3 times All-Star. That's already equaled what Pau has done since he's been there. He was first team All-NBA once, second team once, and third team once. And then we look at Anthony Davis, 25, 9, and 3. His numbers, he averaged more points, the same amount of rebounds, and the same amount of assists as Pau. He's only been there 2 years, but he won 1 title, 2 All-Star games, 1 time first team All-NBA, and 1 time first team All-Defensive Team NBA. So if they win another title while they're there, it's not far-fetched to say that if you're putting Pau Gasol's jersey up in the rafters, After 4 years for LeBron and 3 years for AD, they could actually be eligible to get their jerseys retired in L.A. based off of you putting Pau Gasol's jersey up there. So if that's what has to happen, then don't put Pau's jersey up. I'm not with it. So I don't want theirs up there. That's what I have to say about that. So we going back to the NFL. That's enough of that. Petty Sports Player of the Week in the NFL. Got to get that thing to Trayvon Diggs, cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys. That man balled out. 4 tackles, 2 passes defended, 2 interceptions, leads the league in interceptions with 5. The second-year player out of Alabama is balling. He was definitely a major part of the reason that the Cowboys were able to overcome the Carolina Panthers. And, I mean, that was a big win for Dallas. Yeah! Carolina was undefeated. Trayvon Diggs was a difference maker. He picked Sam Darnold off twice, and that proved to be the difference in an 8-point win. So my hat's off to Trayvon Diggs. You are getting my Petty Sports Player of the Week. Congrats. So now we move on to the biggest surprise teams through week 4. And it's been a crazy season so far. I mean, I just want to highlight 3 teams that I think surprised me the most this season just coming in. I mean, we all knew who we thought were going to be the juggernauts, who would fall off, who would come up. But number 1 on my list is absolutely the Cincinnati Bengals. They are 3-1, first place in the AFC North. No way anybody, I don't even think Cincinnati fans called that. I mean, that is major for them. They were 4-12 last year, and they've already won 3 games in 4 weeks. They've got wins over the Vikings, the Steelers, and the Jaguars. Granted, the Jags are not good at all. The Steelers win. That was definitely big for them because that's in division. That puts them in prime position to contend to win the division. The Vikings are definitely a solid football team. They may or may, they're usually on the cusp of the playoffs. No, they're never a contender, but they're always right in the mix. So, I mean, what we got coming up for the Cincinnati Bengals, their next 5 games, they got Green Bay, at Detroit, at Baltimore, at the Jets, and Cleveland. So, I mean, that's not a ridiculous stretch for them. I mean, Green Bay, that one's kind of iffy, but I'm going to get to that one because that's definitely one of the weekend watch games that I'm going to talk about later on in the show tonight. At Detroit, you could definitely see Cincinnati beating the Lions. They're not that good. At Baltimore, division battle. Baltimore definitely, if I just had to pick right now, would take Baltimore Ravens, but that is a division game. So they know the Ravens well, and they're playing well. They've got, like, their confidence is on 1,000. So, I mean, that could go either way. At the Jets, nobody's picking the Jets against anybody. I mean, unless they're playing the Titans, but that's a Wesley Davis thing. So, I mean, we can just cancel that. They'll beat the Jets, and then they've got another division battle against Cleveland. So, I mean, in that 5-game stretch, they could possibly go into their bye, sitting around 6-3, 5-4. That'll already eclipse their win total from 2020. I mean, that is a win for the team and the franchise, just off top. Nobody saw them coming. Definitely wasn't like I was not talking about the Cincinnati Bengals doing anything. So, I mean, they're looking good. It's looking promising. Can't hate on them at all. Hats off to the Bengals. The second team that's a surprise for me through week 4, the Carolina Panthers. They're also 3-1. I mean, I figured they would be second in the division, but that was because I thought the division was going to be horrible. With Carolina looking the way they're looking, Carolina and Tampa is like, okay, you got 2 really good teams in the division. They're sitting at second place in the NFC South, but they've got wins over the Jets, the Saints, and the Texans. I mean, the Jets and the Texans are not good. But, that was right after both teams had big wins. The Saints blew out Green Bay and then got smacked by Carolina. And then the Texans had a nice comeback win over the Seattle Seahawks. And then they got smacked by the Panthers. I mean, they were 5-11 just last season. They were only 1 game better than the Cincinnati Bengals. The Carolina Panthers have definitely turned this thing around too. Sam Darnold is on a redemption year. Matt Rule in his second year with every team that he's gone to, which all of those samples are from college, he's doing the same thing. His first year, the team was mediocre at best. You could just describe them as bad. The second year, they're usually like around 500 or better, and then they actually start to roll. So, I mean, he's proving to actually be legitimate in that same sense of what he did while he was in the college in the NFL. Can't hate on it at all. They've got Philly, Minnesota, the Giants, the Falcons, and the Patriots coming up. They could win all 5 of those games. They definitely should win 3 of them at the very least. I mean, Philly does pose an offensive threat and issue because they did get run all over by the Cowboys. But I don't see any reason why they definitely shouldn't beat the Giants and the Falcons. New England, just as I stated earlier, that one's kind of up in the air because we just don't know exactly what they are. Really good defense, don't really score too much. I mean, Carolina does put points on the board, so that game could be a toss-up. But, I mean, all they really need to do is address their rush defense, and they recently picked up Stefan Gilmore. Like, recently as in today. We had reports earlier this morning that the Patriots released Stefan Gilmore, and right behind the release statements, they traded him to the Carolina Panthers for a 6th-round pick in 2023. I mean, for a guy who won Defensive Player of the Year in 2019, he had a $64 million contract, had a major interception in Super Bowl 53. That's disrespectful as hell. You traded a man for a 6th-round pick 2 years later? They traded him like he was garbage. It's crazy, but I mean, it's not something that's even surprising from Patriot world. It's like, bro, I mean, they got rid of Ty Law. This is what they do. Like, you start to get old, you want a new contract, holla at you. It's been real. We appreciated your time here. Get your handshake. The last team that is a surprise to me is not a surprise on the plus side. The Kansas City Chiefs sitting at 2-2. What the hell is going on in Kansas City? You just went to the Super Bowl. You got blown out in the Super Bowl, but your excuse was the offensive line. Say your 2 starting linemen were out, so that's why you got beat 31-9. You picked up brand new shiny offensive linemen. You got Tooney, who is one of the best offensive linemen in the league, and all of a sudden, you can't hold on to the football. They have a -3 turnover differential through 4 weeks. I mean, it's bad. They're 30th in the league in turnovers. The only teams who have more turnovers than the Kansas City Chiefs are the Jets and the Jaguars. Where did this Kansas City Chiefs come from? Especially in the month of September. I mean, Pat Mahomes' numbers have been widely documented and put out there. As he was undefeated in January, no interceptions in January. I mean, my bad, in September. And now you come out in September and you're 2-2. I mean, what's going on? I mean, really, this last game wasn't a September game, so really you're 1-2. But we'll just keep it all together just for the sake. It was week 4. I mean, they're 31st in points allowed. Only the Falcons worse. 31st in total yards allowed. Only the Seahawks worse. 27th against the pass. 29th against the rush. I mean, they're expecting Pat Mahomes to put up 50 points a game for them to win. It's actually pretty sad. They're going to have to do something on the defensive end. They should have picked up Jalen Smith and Stefan Gilmore. Any defensive players that you see on the market, the Chiefs need them. But I guess with that $500 million contract, you ain't got no money left. Maybe that's what's going on. I mean, it's not quite time to press the panic button in Kansas City, but y'all should be concerned. You should be very, very concerned. It's not a good look. I don't know what's happening out there. But since I got a little bit of time left, before I go to my next break, I'm going to talk to you about this fight coming up on Saturday. We got Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, part 3. I mean, I'm getting sick of seeing this fight. We watched the first one. It was a so-called controversial draw. They just straight up took that fight from Fury. Tyson Fury beat the man first time. And then in the second fight, Wilder came out wearing a Master Shredder costume that must have weighed about 8,000 pounds. And then he blamed the costume on his fatigue on why he got knocked out. He only made it to the 7th round. He said, he punched me in the ear, knocked his equilibrium off, whatever. The fact of the matter is, Tyson Fury is a way more polished boxer than you are. Wilder is a knockout artist, and he's extra tall. Like, he's way taller than your run-of-the-mill heavyweight. Any other great heavyweight we talk about, they were just over 6 feet, maybe 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". Like, we talking about heavyweights that are 6'7" and 6'9". It's outlandish how big they are. Most people, they can't get out of his wingspan, so he can stand back and throw a haymaker and not worry about getting touched. But Tyson Fury is an actual boxer, and he's taller than you with a longer wingspan, and he's bigger. All of these taken into consideration, I don't know what wizard you went to coming into this fight, but he gonna knock your ass out again. I mean, how many times we got to watch this before you go fight somebody else? That ain't who you want. Try Anthony Joshua. Try John Ruiz. Don't try Tyson Fury again. And you had the audacity to be sitting there talking about you could have beat Mike Tyson in his prime. Yeah, he did caught you with an uppercut and put you to sleep. You still be asleep. From whenever that fight would have been scheduled to take place, sleep. So, I mean, that's coming on Saturday night. I'm definitely going to watch it because, I mean, hey, I like boxing. But it's still not a great fight. I absolutely see Wilder getting dropped in this fight. So, I mean, if you're going to put money on it, don't bet on him. If you're going to bet on it, it should be what round will Fury knock him out in again. Because this fight just actually, I mean, it shouldn't be happening. It's a damn shame, to tell you the truth. So, I mean, I'm going to take you to one more sponsor break before I come back, and I'm going to give you my rookie quarterback week 4 rankings. This one's going to be real. It's only week 4. It's not collective. So before some people come for my head on it, just from their performances from last week, because some of them haven't really gotten starts. Trey Lance, he only got like 2 quarters, and this was only Justin Fields' second start. So keeping that in mind, Mike Beasley going to tell you who pays these bills, and I'm going to come back and break down who had the best week 4 of the rookie quarterbacks.
Yes, sir. Famous facts. Like always, man. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to Petty Sports Wednesday Night Edition, brought to you by KINGZ Broadcasting Studios. We'd like to thank everybody that's tuned in tonight. I see you out there, Miss Sharper. I see you, Jamila, Wesley, and the rest of the gang that's on deck in that chat room. Keep it up, man. Do call in. Feel free to call in at 678-871-9602, 678-871-9602. That's how you can be a part of the show tonight. Go check us out on KINGZ Broadcast and buy some of that dope merch. You know what I'm saying? We got a little something for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So spend some money over there to help us out to keep bringing forth this content, you know, and keep this equipment running and upgraded, you know what I'm saying, with the little stuff we doing here, right? So go check us out on the different platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify. We on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, iHeart. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Hit those notification bells. So anytime the guys go hot, even though Famous Facts feeds in here by itself tonight, I do say guys because we're missing Adam. You know, you can be notified when they go up and tune in right away and continue to share the show. You know, we like that. You know what I'm saying? We like when you share. Sharing is caring. You know, what more can we ask for, right? All right, man. Appreciate it. And support black business. Support black business. Support black businesses because we do. ATL, ho. Back to the regular scheduled program.
Yes, sir. Got to give a shout out to my people in the YouTube chat. Like, that thing going off tonight. Got my man Kobe in there. See Adam chiming in on the chat in there. We got this just in Sportz. I think he must be a Green Bay fan. He's talking about he's a little worried about the Bengals. So yeah, gotta be a Green Bay fan. So yeah, like y'all in the chat room, check in. I'm periodically looking back to see what y'all talking about. See my people in the Facebook chat. But just like I told y'all, I'm gonna break these things down 5-1. My top rookie quarterback week 4 performances. At number 5, I've still got to have Trey Lance. I did like what I saw out of him. He has to sit at the bottom just for the mere fact that it wasn't all that impressive. He only played 2 quarters. He was 9 for 18 50%, that's easy numbers to calculate. 157 yards passing for 2 touchdowns and a 117 QB rating, which was very, very high. But then you have to take into consideration what we actually watched in that game. He threw a touchdown for 76 yards to Deebo Samuel. That's literally half of his stats. 1 touchdown on 1 throw for 76 yards. And outside of that, what does that make you? 8 for 17 for 75 yards? So, no, it wasn't all that impressive. He's still not really ready. I mean, he was pretty good in running. I mean, he had 7 carries for 41 yards. So, I mean, he's looking better and progressively. But he absolutely needs for Jimmy G not to be out for an extended period of time because he's not ready to be the starter. He's making strides, but it's going to be a while. So for San Francisco fans, I hope for y'all's sake, you don't have to rely on Trey because that's going to greatly change the trajectory of your season. He says, I hope you – no, I don't even know what Wes is talking about. I'm not going to acknowledge that. At number 4, Zach Wilson. And I know some of you are probably like, but they won the game. They beat the Titans. Like, yes, they did win the game. Zach was 21 of 34, 61% completion, 297 yards. I mean, that's definitely better than what I had expected to see out of Zach Wilson. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 97 rating. But when I just looked at the actual game, if you go back and look at what happened in that game, I mean, I had to go back and really comb through it because I was like, how in the hell did the Titans lose to the Jets? That doesn't even make any sense. The Jets had the ball with a 7-point lead with 3:21 left in the game. And then Zach proceeded to overthrow an open receiver on a 3rd and 10, which would have kept the drive alive, and they probably could have run most of the clock out. They gave them the ball back with 2:21 left and let them tie the game up. I mean, they had so many opportunities. Like, I think it was more so that the Jets' defense played extremely well in that game, then Zach Wilson turned a corner. Their defense stopped the Texans in the red zone 3 times. They held them to 9 points in red zone trips, which definitely proved to be the difference in that football game because they went to overtime and they won it by 3 points. He did lead a nice drive in overtime, so I won't take that from him at all. He drove them all the way down the field. Like, they went all the way down to the 4-yard line to ultimately kick a 21-yard field goal to win the game. So that was a chip shot. I mean, anyone could have kicked that field goal because he got them all the way in range. So like that overtime drive, that looked good. But Trey is throwing the ball up for grabs quite a bit, just like what I talked about before the season and when they drafted him. He's just entirely too careless with the football. He turns it over a lot. I mean, he had an interception called back. So, I mean, his numbers aren't even true to what he did. But it is better than what I've seen out of him for the past couple of weeks. So that's why I've got him a notch above Trey Lance. Trevor Lawrence is getting the number 3 nod from me. They had a narrow loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, that Thursday night game was actually really good. I wasn't excited about watching it. I mean, the Bengals and the Jags, that just sounds nasty. Like, nobody wants to see that. But Trevor Lawrence showed up. He went 17 to 24, 70.8% completions, 200 yards. He didn't throw for any touchdowns, but he did run for one. Had a 96.5 rating and just a 3-point loss. And I mean, you have to take in consideration that man is playing with a terrible offensive line. To this point, he's got a bad coach. Urban Meyer was great in college. I mean, in the college football world, he's probably easily top 5 all time. As an NFL coach, not so much. NFL coach, he's got a bad one. He doesn't have any wide receivers. And now he's dealing with the whole fiasco that is Urban Meyer and the lap dance, which I don't understand why anyone cares about. It's a grown man out at a public place and a girl danced in his lap and he touched her butt. Did people not go to strip clubs? The only person who should have a gripe with that is Urban Meyer's wife. And outside of that, who cares? That man, he do what he do. Like, why are we concerned with that? That has nothing to do with football. But it's all over all the major networks. Should he be fired? Like, what, for that? Maybe he should fire because his team sucks. Because they couldn't win a close game against the Cincinnati Bengals. That was a game that you expected to get one of those illustrious W's that elude y'all because you've lost 19 straight football games as a franchise, 4 straight this year. You figured maybe when you see the Bengals on the schedule, you could probably win that one. So, yeah, I mean, the problem is way outside of Urban Meyer's personal life. Worry about what he's doing on the football field. He's losing the locker room. He's losing the players. They're losing games. If he gets fired soon, it'll have nothing to do with that incident. But at number 2, I've got Justin Fields. And I know you're probably like, but he won. Justin Fields had a very big turnaround from week to week. I mean, just last week, we talked about just like that was probably one of the worst football games we've ever seen from a quarterback. 1 net passing yard, and his QBR was like a 6. I mean, the rebound mentally and performance-wise was amazing. I mean, 11 to 17, 64% passing, 209 yards. I mean, those numbers don't jump off the table at all. We're not saying that he had a great game, but he played so much better than what he played the prior week. Our sample size of his starts are 2 games. He had 1 trash game, and he had 1 pretty decent game. So now we'll have to wait till week 3 to see which one was the anomaly. Is he the bad guy, or is he the quarterback that looks like he can make plays and actually make some good throws? I mean, he showed up. They finally got a win. So, I mean, things are looking up. He's been officially named the starter moving forward, so now he doesn't have to worry about Andy Dalton or Nick Foles trying to take his spot now, so he can actually just comfortably set in. I mean, he's good with running the ball. He's not taking big hits, even though the line sucks. So, I mean, when he takes big hits, it's not because he's running carelessly. It's because he gets smacked and nobody blocks him, or nobody blocks for him. But there's nothing that he can personally do about that. But all in all, I'm going to give him a good grade for this week, and that's why I've got him second, even over Trevor Lawrence, because he bounced back from an extremely terrible situation. I mean, you can flip-flop them as they go, but I like what Justin did this week just a little bit better than what Trevor did. And since I've given you 5 up to 2, you clearly know who I've got at number 1. That will be Mac Jones. He had the biggest sample size of any of the quarterbacks this week. He took all the snaps. He threw 40 balls, was 78% completion, had 275 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and an interception that could have gone either way, a 101 rating, and just the magnitude of the game. The dude played on Sunday night in prime time, the return of Brady. It was raining disgustingly out there. He stood tall in the pocket. He was getting smacked in his face on almost every drop back. I mean, 30% of his throws, he was getting hit. He was getting bothered back there. He showed extreme poise and looks like if he can continue to play like that, then he might be what it is that New England was expecting when they drafted him at number 15. I mean, it was definitely a brash turnaround from what we saw from him against the Saints the week prior, throwing the interceptions, looking frazzled. I mean, we know he's not mobile, so he can't run. Things have to be right for him. He actually threw the ball slightly farther down the field. I complained about it last week that he was only throwing 3-yard balls. Now they're going 6. It's getting a little better. They're still not far. He's checking down, but he's at least throwing the ball a little bit farther down the field. And, I mean, he was one doink field goal away from pulling off one of like a massive upset. I mean, that would have been a major upset had he been able to take his team to victory over Brady in the return and all that emotional stuff going on. So, I mean, I definitely can't knock any of what Mac is doing. But all of the rookie quarterbacks as a whole, they look pretty good this week. This has been the first week since the season started, probably even since preseason, that I've been able to actually comfortably sit here and tell you that all 5 of them had at least a decent game. And it sounds like we might have a caller coming in. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, man, it's J Real ATL, man. You know I'm calling in to the show, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm down with Justin, right? You know I like that kid right there, man, and I just think he don't have the right coaches in place for him to be successful, and the coach just really ride his coattail to save his job. You know what I'm saying? So what's your take on Justin Fields' success in Chicago with the leadership as far as the coaching staff he has before him? I'll just hang up and listen to your comments, sir.
Oh, man, appreciate your call, Jay Real. I mean, as far as Justin Fields and the coaching out there, I mean, he doesn't have any. Nagy has proved absolutely nothing. They brought in Mitch Trubisky, and they backpedaled into the playoff off of the backs of a very good defense. Their offense was never good. They were relying on the athleticism of Trubisky. Justin Fields has more. He needs a little bit of time to develop. He needs an offensive line. I mean, he showed that if you give him time in the pocket, he actually can make these throws. Their weapons aren't all the way bad. He never has any time to throw the football. If they can address the needs that they have on the offensive line, just let him develop the way he should. I mean, it's really insane what Chicago is doing. Like, don't waste this man away. He is one of those next-level talents. He could be a top 10, even possibly top 5 quarterback in the NFL moving forward if he's given the proper pieces. But the way that they're coaching him right now, he's liable to – it's more likely that he gets hurt than he develops into that. I mean, I absolutely hope that that's not what happens to him, but that could be the future for him. And I see someone in the chat talking about Taylor Heinecke. He's not a rookie, but yeah, Taylor Heinecke is looking good. I mean, he's got a crazy story. And he came to Atlanta. I think he was playing, I don't know what league he was in. It might have been some type of a semi-pro team. I don't think it was Arena, but he was staying on his sister and brother-in-law's couch, or brother and sister-in-law, whichever way it was. And 2 years later now he's starting, winning games for Washington. I mean, definitely a feel-good story. I mean, Heineke could actually be their guy moving forward. Definitely doesn't have a big contract. So, I mean, they should be straight rolling forward with him. I mean, I can't hate on the guy. He had a very good showing in the playoffs last year against Tampa Bay, and he's picked up right where he left off. I mean, it looks like they didn't really need to bring in Fitzmagic. I'm pretty sure they didn't really pay Fitz that much anyway. So if they're going to ride with Taylor, they can go ahead and actually try to build around him, get some pieces. They have a very good defense, and if he's going to be playing quarterback at that level, put some pieces around him and see what you got. But I mean, good question, though. Like, I rock with Heineken / Heineke. No, that's your drink, too, ain't it? It's all good, y'all. So, hey, man, it's 9 o'clock. We reached the top of the hour. So, this thing is rolling on along. So, when I come back, I'm going to give you the Petty Sports Fast 5. I'm going to talk to you about the weekend watch games. I mean, we got some hot games for week 5. Like, man, week 5 is about to be all the way live. I'm pretty sure you're going to have some problems with some of the takes that I have about these games coming up. But then, I'm going to give you the picks for all the games. Give you the fantasy football update, all that stuff. So this is the part where you really need to get your pen and pad out. So, man, y'all keep this thing locked. Mike Beasley, go ahead and take this thing away. Let them know who pays the bills around here.
Facts. Appreciate that, facts. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in like always. Do feel free to call in. I appreciate that caller, man. I like Justin Fields too, bro. You know what I'm saying? So keep the calls coming. Don't be afraid. Say what you got to say and just keep it moving. You know what I'm talking about? Fee's ready for y'all. You know what I'm saying? He needs some company up there, So help him feel good. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody's in the chat room, especially in the YouTube, like you say, man. Jonathan, you know what I'm saying? You got Dylan Peterson. Not Jonathan, but Jacobian. Mr. Holman. Okay, I just say that. Mr. Peterson, Jay Real. There's a lot of folk out there. My man Adam, of course. He on deck. I see him. This is just this Just In Sports show. All right, yeah. So it's a few of y'all out there, man. So thank you so much for tuning in. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you right here with your folk, making it do what it do. We greatly appreciate it. Check us out on the different platforms, like I always say, Google's, Apple, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, iHeart. Like, follow, share, subscribe, listen, all of that, man. You know what I'm saying? And, yeah, appreciate that, man. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you right here with us doing what it do. ATL, ho. Back to the regular schedule program.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You were live and direct on Petty Sports, the podcast brought to you by KINGZ Broadcasting Studios. I'm your host, the man. They call me Fax, Famous Fees. Yo, it's hour number 2. We reached the top. I appreciate everybody who's been rocking with me all the way up to this point. We got a lot going on tonight. We're going to keep this thing rocking with a bunch of hot NFL action. I got the Petty Sports Fast 5 coming up. It ain't going to be all that fast because it's just me talking. So I'm going to let you know what I think about these games. First on deck, the New York Jets. Yes, Wesley. The New York Jets pulled off a monster upset of the Tennessee Titans for their first W of the season and the first win for Zach Wilson in his rookie campaign. So, is this a great sign for the Jets, or should the Titans push the panic button? I think the Tennessee Titans should absolutely push the panic button. It's disgusting. How the hell you lost to the Jets is beyond me. I had to go back and watch this game. And it sounds like I got another caller. Are you? Oh, no, and they gone. I went back and watched this game. The Jets actually played a very sound and solid defensive game against the Titans. Yes, Derrick Henry did go for $157, but they stopped the Titans in the red zone 3 out of their 5 trips. Held them to field goals. You're not able to punch the ball in against the Jets? What's really going on? You're 2 for 5 in the red zone against the Jets and went to overtime. You let Zach Wilson have the best game of his young career, and you lost to the Jets. This is a Tennessee Titans team that is still currently winning the AFC South. We're supposed to be a heavyweight contender in the AFC. Just a couple of years ago, went to the AFC Championship. Last year, lost in the divisional round. They're supposed to be a respectable AFC team. You've got a guy in Derrick Henry that's gone for over 2,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. Ryan Tannehill has definitely established himself as a very good quarterback. We can call him a top 10 quarterback in this league. But you mean to tell me because A.J. Brown and Julio Jones were out that your offense couldn't put up enough points to beat the Jets? Your offense is laughable. Your defense is trash. You lost to the New York Jets. Tennessee Titans, this ain't the shade room, but you the donkey of the day. If I had a hee-haw, I'd give it to you. Y'all lost to the Jets. Get out of here. I don't want to hear anything else from any Titans fans ever again. Y'all are bad. That was just disgusting. Hee-haw, hee-haw, hee-haw. So, man, we're going to move on to the New York Giants. They upset the New Orleans Saints in another overtime game. Imagine that. The 2 New York teams both pulled off upsets in overtime this weekend.
What?
Daniel Jones was 28 of 40 for 402 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick from a 108 QB rating against the Saints. The Saints were just beating their chest about their defense. Because last week they balled out and they showed out against Mac Jones and the Pats. And they destroyed Green Bay in a game that looked like Aaron Rodgers threw it. But now you let this man bring back his name. I can't even tell them they can't say Danny Dimes anymore as he put up 400 yards on you. But it's even more sad when you look at how they lost that game. The Saints were up 21-10 with 7 minutes left in the game, and you let it go to overtime. How the hell are you playing a team as bad as the New York Giants and you have an 11-point lead with 7 minutes left and you end up going to overtime? You turn around and gave up a crazy long touchdown to Saquon Barkley, which we haven't even said his name this season. This is the first sighting we've seen of Saquon Barkley. You let him run the crazy long touchdown, let them get a 2-point conversion right behind it, so now you're only up by 3. Then your offense stalls out because Jameis, we know Jameis Winston has a big arm. He could throw the deep ball, but he also throws interceptions when he throws a lot of deep balls. But outside of about 3-4 passes that Jameis threw, Jameis Winston's play calling sheet is looking very similar to Mac Jones. He's not throwing the ball very far. You're giving him the ball. It's being very spoon-fed. Sean Payton is not showing that he has faith in Jameis. He put Taysom in for a couple of these throws, and then a lot of Jameis's throws were to Taysom. Like in the backfield, a 1-yard pass, maybe 2 yards up, maybe in the backfield. He's throwing a lot of bubble screens and short outs and comeback routes. I don't feel like they have a lot of faith in Jameis, and it showed. All they had to do was run the clock out. Alvin Kamara was like, okay, they stacking the line on him. So they need Jameis to throw the ball. So then you go to overtime after you've given up 11 straight points in 7 minutes and you produce nothing. You lose the toss. And then you let the New York Giants drive the length of the field on the very first drive and score a touchdown in overtime to lose the game. Wait, what's going on in New Orleans? Y'all talking about who that? Y'all blew that. Point blank period. You straight up blew that. 21-10 and you lost in overtime. That's pathetic, especially to the Giants. The Giants are bad. They're just as bad as the Jets, really. They do have a little bit more on offense than the Jets do, but they're about that bad. No excuse for it. I'm not giving y'all the donkey of the day because the Titans earned that, but you were right on the cusp. Game number 3, the Buffalo Bills beat the Houston Texans 40-0. I mean, that's not the ass whooping of all ass whoopings, but it isn't actually. Josh Allen went 20 of 29 for 248 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, you had pretty good numbers, but how y'all put up 40 points? I mean, 40-0 sounds like they're like a runaway best team in the NFL, and it's not even fair. Like it was Bama playing against like an HBCU or something. But that's not actually what happened. I mean, they did hold Houston to 109 yards worth of total offense for the game. I mean, that's ridiculous. For your rushing and passing game to collectively produce 109 yards, like that doesn't even seem possible. But then when you look at actually how the game flowed, it's like Houston didn't get beat as bad as the score said. And I know you're saying 40-0. I don't even see how that's possible. But if you go back and actually just watch what happened in that game, I mean, Josh Allen came out, threw an interception on his very first drive. It was a bad pick. Terrible read. Then they went for it on a 4th and 2 from the 6-yard line. Houston, when I say they were on the 6-yard line and went for it on 4th and 2. Should have just kicked the field goal. You were only down 7-0. So, I mean, right there, they could have had points on the board. But they made terrible calls like this all game. You've got Davis Mills at quarterback, and you're going for it on 4th down. Like, even if you thought that that this game was going to be manageable enough for you to have an opportunity to win, like, you're going to have to take the points wherever you can get them. Just because you're all the way down there, like, the score was not unmanageable. Should have absolutely kicked that. I mean, that was just stupid. But then we look at Buffalo didn't actually score until there were 2 minutes left of the first quarter. So it's not like their offense came out clicking on all the cylinders the way that score would indicate. Even more so, it was 16-0 in the first half with 3 red zone attempts. Like they were in the red zone 3 times And they had 2 interceptions at that point and still only had 16 points. So, I mean, at 16-0 going into the half, you're still in the game. I mean, you would not prefer to be down 16-0, but that's not out of reach. One good drive, and now the game gets real. So how the hell does a 16-0 game at halftime turn into 40-0? Third quarter, Houston made some adjustments. They only gave up 3 points in the third quarter. Granted, they went for it on a couple of more fourth downs and made some more bad decisions and had more turnovers. 19-0 at the end of the third quarter was this 40-0 game. So the Buffalo Bills scored 21 points in the fourth quarter of this blowout game. It just wasn't as impressive as it looked. If they were playing against a better football team, they more than likely would have lost. Josh Allen didn't play great in the game. He played good. Houston turned the ball over 5 times, had 4 interceptions and 1 fumble. And they were all untimely because they were actually they had multiple opportunities to score in this game. Not to win the game, but absolutely could have put points on the board. They should not have lost 40-0, and the Buffalo Bills should not have scored 40 points. I mean, the Buffalo Bills just might quite possibly be fool's gold. I mean, they smacked Houston. They did the same thing to the Dolphins, and they ran up the score on the Washington football team. Are any of those teams in any of y'all picks to go to even the playoffs, let alone to anyone's Super Bowl or be a contender? Absolutely not. They haven't beat anyone. They lost to the Steelers in week 1, who we thought they should have beat this way. But that's the only team that they played that has a pulse on even one side of the ball, and their defense shut them down. They only put up 16 points against Pittsburgh. So I'm not sold. Buffalo looks like they've rebounded and fixed their issues because Buffalo has not played anybody. So we'll see where they go moving forward. I'm not impressed. Even in a 40-0 game, not impressed at all. Now, the next one was actually a much better football game and had a lot of stories to go along with it. The Seattle Seahawks avoided losing 3 straight games by catching a tight W over the San Francisco 49ers, 28-21. And that was a game within a game also. I say that because Jimmy G got hurt in this game. Jimmy G came out balling. In the first quarter, Jimmy Garoppolo was 10 for 12 for 132 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. I mean, the way that started off, if he was to continue that on, he would have completed at least a good 35 to 40 passes, threw for over 400 yards, probably had at least 4 touchdowns. That's not a game that Seattle would have won. But early in the second quarter, he got sacked and he got banged up. He stayed in the game for the rest of the second quarter, but he was hobbling, and his passes showed it. But they still went into the half down, like it was 7-7. They were tied. He just got hobbled in the second quarter. But what we saw from third and fourth quarter on, Trey Lance had to come in for Jimmy Garoppolo because he was out. He had to go get an MRI. Trey Lance, as I told you when I was giving you the rookie segment, he came out firing. He threw the 76-yard touchdown to Deebo Samuel. It's like, oh, okay. He's getting a few good runs here or there, 7 carries for the 41 yards. But ultimately, he's just not a polished passer. He's not as good as Jimmy G. And Seattle escaped. The Seattle Seahawks should be 1-3 right now. They are not better than San Francisco when Jimmy G is playing. But that is a big asterisk to say when Jimmy G is playing because the man gets hurt almost every year. I mean, San Francisco needs to be worried just about the fact that Jimmy could miss extended time. But the Seattle Seahawks also need to be worried that it took all of that for you to get this W on the books. I mean, you beat a Colts team that essentially ain't got no quarterback. I mean, Carson Wentz came back from an injury and he wasn't that good in the first place. And then you beat the 49ers, who lost their quarterback. and put in the rookie. And you still only beat him by 7. It's not like they just took advantage and was like, oh, the rookie is confused. He still had some small successes and victories out there, and you squeaked out a W. This formula that Seattle's running with is not going to work. I mean, Russ did not have a great game. He ran for a touchdown, but he didn't even throw for 200 yards in this game. See, Seattle is going to need to go see the Wizard, figure out where you can get a defense from. Just like we talked about, Kansas City should have been looking for all the defensive players. The Seattle Seahawks should have as well. With Stefan Gilmore available and Jalen Smith available, no reason that Seattle should not have been on that phone trying to pick up both of them, because they absolutely need it. Like, Jamal Adams and Wagner are not enough. You've got to have more pieces. They cannot stop anyone. I mean, that's going to prove to be a problem moving forward for the Seahawks, so we'll definitely keep a tight watch out on that. Now, our last game in the Fast Five, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Chiefs won the game 42-30. Finally act like they righted the ship, at least on offense, but the offense was never the problem. I mean, they put up 32 points in that win over Cleveland the first game of the season, but they gave up 29. The 2 L's they took to the Chargers and the Ravens, they gave up 30-plus points. It's the defense and the turnovers. The offense is not helping the defense, and the defense ain't good. So, I mean, that's a bad combination. Pat Mahomes went 24 for 30, so he damn near didn't have any incompletions, but he only actually threw for 278 yards. I mean, you would think that when Pat completes that many passes, he should have, like, historic numbers. He did throw for 5 touchdowns and an interception. Granted, 2 of those 5 touchdowns were those little shuffle passes, which I feel like those are runs. I don't think they should count on the stat sheet as touchdowns. Not because Pat Mahomes did it, just because I don't really think that that's a pass. You run a running back or a wide receiver right past the quarterback that's in the shotgun, and he throws a little underhand or overhand little shuffle pass. That's not a pass. Like that's like a pitch. If I do that and it goes this way, it's a pitch. But if I do it this way, it's a pass. That ain't a pass. But that's how he got 2 of the touchdowns. He had a 131 quarterback rating. So, I mean, the rating was off the charts. But the Philadelphia Eagles just previously got shut down by the Dallas Cowboys. And no one is accusing Dallas of having a great defense. We're talking about the defense is improved. They're still a middle-of-the-road defense, and Philly couldn't score on them. They shut the Philly offense all the way down. Kansas City came out, and they gave up 30 points to Philly, to this same Philly team that Dallas shut down. Jalen Hurts was 32 of 48 with 387 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and no picks. That's one of the best games that Jalen has had in his entire NFL career against this Kansas City defense. I mean, Jalen is definitely not high on anyone's list of top quarterbacks in the league or someone who's unstoppable. I mean, it's a problem. You can't stop Jalen Hurts. They're not stopping anybody. I mean, Kansas City is going to have to figure out life on the defensive side of the ball. And Philly, I don't know what tape they've been watching. Everyone, like in the 2 losses that Kansas City took back-to-back, both teams took Tyreek Hill out the game and gave him Travis Kelce. But apparently, Philly figured that we ain't got to do that. We're going to stop Kelce. Kelce the one getting all the numbers. And you let Tyreek Hill go for 11 receptions for 186 yards and 3 touchdowns on 12 targets. Did you miss the memo? Did you see what he did week 1? He did the same thing to you. Cleveland tried the same thing you tried, and it didn't work. Like, who's getting paid to do this? If we see it, how does a person whose actual job is to look at this not see it? Maybe y'all need to pay me. I could have told you not to do that. Bracket Tyreek Hill. Put somebody up and somebody back. Make sure he doesn't get big plays. But no. Y'all just going to let the fastest player in the league mean, outside of John Ross, just run wild. And you figured you can contain them? Like, what the hell were you thinking? Like, Philly had to have the worst game plan that I've ever seen coming in at a game. But man, that's enough of Philly. Enough for the Fast Five. I'm about to move in to the weekend watch. I got 4 major matchups coming into week 5 that you simply cannot miss. First on deck, we got the Sunday night monster matchup. The Buffalo Bills in Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs on NBC. Told you, Sunday night football. Before the season, we would have billed this as the 2 best teams in the AFC squaring off for an AFC championship game preview. Now that could be greatly debated. I mean, between the Chiefs and the Bills, you've now got the Chargers, you got the Browns. There's quite a few teams that are emerging. I mean, hell, Baltimore is looking like they might have something to say about that. But in this game, it's a lot on the line. Josh Allen, he had his best season as a pro last season. I mean, he even had Adam thinking that he was going to be the MVP this year. In their big wins, he has not had actual big games. He's going to have to turn up big on the road in Arrowhead. But as I look at the game and look at who these teams have played, I'm going to run down the tail of the tape. I'm going to give you Buffalo versus Kansas City, tail of the tape, as if it was a boxing match. Yards per game on offense, the Kansas City Chiefs are second in the league. Buffalo Bills are 6th. Scoring, they're both tied for second at 33.5. So they're both lighting up the scoreboard. Where we get a difference here is on defense. Defense in yards per game, Kansas City is 31st, giving up 437 yards a game. The Buffalo Bills are first at 216. Points per game allowed. Buffalo first in that at 11. Kansas City 31st, giving up 31 points per game. So, I mean, looking at the numbers, it's a no-brainer. Buffalo is going to take them out. But we can't just call the game by the numbers. That's not how this works. Styles make fights. Matchups are everything. And look at who they've played. The Buffalo Bills played Pittsburgh, Miami, Washington, and Houston. They have a combined 5-11 record. And outside of Pittsburgh, those other 3 teams are bottom 10 in yards and points. So you played trash football teams. Look at Kansas City. They played Cleveland, Baltimore, the Chargers, and the Eagles. Their team's combined record is a 10-6. I mean, we're looking at the Bills' combined schedule is drafting in the top 10. The Chiefs' combined schedule is getting a wild card spot. So when we look at all things being equal, all the numbers and accolades and everything that speak in favor of Buffalo, they're empty. They don't mean anything. Kansas City is going to beat the Buffalo Bills in Arrowhead, and then Buffalo is going to start looking for answers because they've only looked good against bad football teams. So long as the Kansas City Chiefs don't have 5 turnovers, they're absolutely going to win that game. And I see Kobe says start Allen or Mahomes. I would say start Pat Mahomes. That stage is too big for Josh Allen. He's going to fold. Kansas City will be far and away the best offense that the Bills have seen. And in turn, that's going to force Buffalo to do things on offense that they're not comfortable doing. They'll probably go for it on 4th downs that they shouldn't go for. It's going to end up being a bad game. I got Kansas City winning that by multiple touchdowns. Now, our next matchup, the Cleveland Browns are headed to SoFi to take on the LA Chargers. Both teams also sitting at 3-1. So, I mean, this is another major AFC showdown. And as blasphemic as it may sound to Bills and Chiefs fans, the Browns and the Chargers could possibly be an AFC championship game matchup preview. Like, absolutely. They're both sitting in prime position. It could be. I mean, between the Browns defense and the Chargers offense, this is a Titan-type matchup and not Tennessee. So we're looking at the Chargers. They're 26 in the league against the run. I mean, 29th. That's pretty bad. They ain't but 32 teams. The Cleveland Browns are first in the league in rushing at 177 yards rushing per game. So they're going to run the ball, and they're going to run it early and often. Nick Chubb is going to eat. Kareem Hunt will do his thing. They're not going to have issues running the ball against the Chargers. The Browns are third in the league against the run, only giving up 66 yards per game. The Chargers don't really run like that. They're 16th. I mean, they're dead even right in the middle, 100 yards per game. So, I mean, you could definitely see Cleveland winning that battle, holding them under their average per game. You could see that with no problem. Now we look at the defense from points allowed. Cleveland is fourth in the league, averaging 16.8 points per game. And the Chargers are seventh, giving up 18.5 points per game. So that's negligible. Both defenses are bend but don't break. They're giving up a few yards on one aspect of the game. They're not giving up points. So both defenses look good. We look at the offenses. Cleveland's offense is averaging 25 points per game to the Chargers' 23.8 points per game. So all the numbers point for this matchup being very, very close. This will be an even matchup. I mean, Herbert is thus far showed that he is the better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. But Baker Mayfield also has the better running back core and the better defense to support him, so he doesn't have to do as much as Herbert. And with Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney out there blitzing on the outside when they don't even actually have to dial up pressure, I absolutely think Cleveland will win an ugly game. This will be very close, but I'm going to take Cleveland. Got to have them in this one. So we got to get a cool nickname for Justin Herbert. His name doesn't really lend for a nickname. He's going to have to do something stupid for us to give him a name or something cool, whichever comes first. But off the top, nah, can't do it. He's a duck anyway. I don't like the Ducks. Unlike you SEC fans, I don't like the other teams in the conference that my team plays in. But tomorrow night, man, we got another monster one. This Thursday night been heating up. I mean, normally a lot of times you look at the Thursday matchups and be like, man, this is garbage. But we had a really good game with the Giants and the Washington football team. The opening was Dallas against Tampa. Last week, that game with the nasty namesake, Jacksonville versus Cincinnati, actually ended up being a good game. Tomorrow night, we've got the Rams and the Seahawks in Seattle. So, I mean, they didn't short you this time to be like, oh, I hope that this game turns out being something. We got a monster matchup. Another NFC West showdown in Seattle. So now my question to myself this time, who needs this game more? And I think it's absolutely the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks sitting at 2-2, getting this just barely win over San Francisco without their quarterback for 2 quarters, and 1 win over a bad Colts team. They need this win to prove that they can actually compete with the big dogs in the NFC. Because, I mean, we've seen that San Francisco without Jimmy Garoppolo is not that good. They have a really good defense, but they can't put up points when Jimmy's not playing. And outside of that, Seattle hasn't showed us much. They got walked down against a Titans team that they shouldn't have even been up like they were up. They got a couple of fluke plays and things were going their way in the first half, and as soon as the fluke stopped, they got walked down. You got waxed by Minnesota and squeaked by San Francisco. This Rams team is not what Seattle wanted to see on the schedule after starting 2-2. The Rams are 3-1. I mean, they at one point were considered the best team in the NFC. They're definitely they should roll over Seattle. I mean, just to give you a little bit of history in their matchup, the Rams have won 6 of the last 8 games against Seattle. The Rams beat the Bears, the Colts, and the Bucks. Seattle beat the Colts and the 49ers. So, I mean, they do have a common opponent. But outside of that, Seattle's just not doing, they're not showing up. Russ has not thrown a single interception, but he's also not been impressive. So, I mean, I think the Rams will have their way. I don't know what the spread is on this game, but I absolutely know that Seattle is 28th against the pass. So if you got Deshaun Jackson, put him in fantasy. They're 32nd against the rush. I mean, I still wouldn't put in Sony Michel. That's a bad call. But they're gonna have decent, like, have a good time running. I mean, Henderson will definitely get his numbers. Sony will get a few yards. Seattle is 32nd in total defense. And now, mind you, 32nd is dead last. They're last against the rush, last in total defense, fourth to last against the pass. The Rams should win by at least 2 touchdowns. It's going to be ugly in Seattle. You're going to have to start pushing the panic button. Not saying that Pete Carroll should be on the hot seat, but as far as this season is concerned, Seahawks, push the panic button. It's coming. I got one more game for you on the weekend watch, but we're going to take our 9:30 sponsor break before I hit you with that one. Then I got to get you our fantasy football update because the Petty Sports Fantasy Football League is getting heated. Folks is coming for me. They don't like that I have been winning all the way through the beginning, even though my wins were like the Broncos wins. Doesn't matter. I was 3-0. So, Mike Beasley, take this thing away one more time.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in tonight to Petty Sports Wednesday Night Edition. Every other Wednesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Brought to you by KINGZ Broadcasting Studio. We greatly appreciate you tuning in like always, man. You know what I'm saying? We get down to where we get down. Famous Facts Feed do what he do. We missing Adam. One man low this week, and we're going to keep it in the road for him, you know what I'm saying, representing like he's here and do what they do, you know. Adam, call in. Let everybody hear from you, man. You know, people might be worried about you out there or something, man. So call in, let them hear your voice, and chop it up with your boy tonight. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what I'm talking about. Go look at or go listen to the other previously aired shows on the different podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, Facebook. Well, that's not a podcast platform, but you go to those platforms, type in Petty Sports with a Z, and you can hear the previously aired shows and enjoy it all over again like it's your first time. Like, follow, share, subscribe, listen, you know, share the show, the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all that, man. And these guys are all over the place, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate everybody in the chat room keeping it up. You know what I'm saying? I see you in there. KINGZBroadcasting.com, baby. 678-871-9602. Somebody call in, chop it up with us, man. 678-871-9602. That's how you can be a part of the show tonight. Support black business, support black businesses, support black businesses, because we do ATL. Hold back to the regular scheduled program.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are back for the final stretch, baby. I got one more game for you on the weekend watch, and I told you I wasn't going to skip that game. The Green Bay Packers are traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. I know that just sounds crazy, doesn't it? We're saying that's one of the highlighted games of the week to watch is Green Bay at Cincinnati. But it's real. Both teams are 3-1. So, I mean, this makes it a marquee matchup. I mean, Cincinnati beat Minnesota in overtime. They beat Pittsburgh, and they beat Jacksonville. So their resume is not all that impressive. But neither is Green Bay's. Green Bay beat Detroit, San Francisco, and Pittsburgh. Both of them have one decent win on their schedule. And they both beat Pittsburgh. That's their common opponent. And if we look at the Pittsburgh game, Green Bay beat Pittsburgh 27-17. Cincinnati beat them 24-10. Cincinnati beat Pittsburgh worse than Green Bay beat them. So, I mean, if you're just taking the common opponent in, then you're definitely going to have to, actually give Cincinnati a little bit of credit and a chance in this game. I mean, Green Bay is averaging just shy of 24 points per game. Cincy's averaging 23 points a game. They're 6th and 7th, respectively, in total defense. So they've both been having pretty much the same output on both sides of the ball. I mean, that's actually got the makings of a Cincinnati upset, possibly. But I wouldn't take the upset. I think Aaron Rodgers will ultimately prove to be the better quarterback. I mean, no one's arguing that Joe Burrow is better than Aaron Rodgers. But it's just a mere fact that neither team has an advantage here. They both score about the same amount of points per game. Their defenses are right on par with each other, sitting one right behind the other. All their numbers are eerily similar. So, I mean, this game could be tight. I'm taking Green Bay to win the game, but I absolutely think it'll be tight. If that spread is more than Green Bay by 3, maybe 4, I will go with Cincinnati if you're betting the spread. Then Green Bay will win the game, and I'm taking the Packers to win the game. I'm not taking them to cover. Someone can come in there and holler at me and let me know what the spread is on that, but I'm absolutely taking Green Bay to win, Cincy, cover the spread. Just like I told y'all, I got to give you an update. The Petty Sports Fantasy Football League, we're not 4 weeks in. It's been heated. Folks been in there talking a gang of trash. I'm like, we got 12 teams in, and it's been looking pretty good. I mean, me and Adam, we both in the top 4. So, I mean, out of 12, it's not looking too bad. And y'all coming in and y'all trying to show us what y'all know. Some of y'all are lucky. Some of y'all know what you're doing. Some of y'all just do whatever you do. It's funny to watch. Like the folks that come in here and they talk every week, Wes, and have terrible fantasy football teams. It's interesting. It's fun to play, y'all. Like I know I'm currently sitting at 3-1. I'm tied for first. Fire Arthur Smith. I don't know who that is, actually. But whoever that is, they're actually in first. Fire Arthur Smith is sitting at the top. I'm tied with him in second. You know, the most points for that person sits at 1. So he has more points than me. And then Spradlin, he's also at 3-1. He hasn't scored that many points, but he beat me last week. That's where my 1L came from. So, I mean, outside of that, we got a gang of people sitting at 2-2. No, Adam, he wasn't going to let me not mention him. Who that nation? He's sitting right there at number 4 at 2-2. Then we got a gang of 2-2 squads. I can't actually completely see those. Eventually, I can give them to you. But, man, this thing is actually, man, it's rough. As we progress on, we're going to see how it go. You know, I'm sitting pretty right now. Don't know how good that's going to be. I got to play the guy at the top spot. Probably going to get smacked this week. So the rankings are going to change one more time. Oh, we got Nashville sitting at 5-0. West is tied. And then Atlanta Machines up. G on the 1s and the 2s. Then we got Graham sitting up there. LJ, show me your TDs. Like it's TD Tuesday. But it's Wednesday. It's okay. It's always a day for the TDs. We ain't never mad at that. And then rounding up the bottom, we got Run CMC. Yeah, Jackson's team is looking pretty bad. Team Darby, not doing well. 12 Monkey Hustles. Your name sucks, and that's why your team is bad. Then we got I'm bad at fantasy and dead last. So, I mean, you're absolutely right, Carlos. I'm not going to argue with you if you're right. You said you're bad at fantasy, and you absolutely are. So, I mean, that's what it is. So, man, I'm around this thing off, man. I got 20 minutes left on there with you good people. I got to run through week 5. But I got to give you this update, though. In week 4, I was 9-7 picking the games. Adam was 10-6. He got me by 1 game. And he's not here to gloat about it. So it is what it is. He has not sent me his week 5 predictions, but they're coming. He's going to give them to me because you can't get out of a week of picking. This is a full season thing right here. So now for the season, through 4 weeks, we are dead even once again at 40-14. After 2 weeks, we were tied, and now after 4 weeks, we were tied. Now, I've changed some of my picks after doing my own breakdowns on these. So I'm going to run these bad boys down for you, one game at a time. Tomorrow night, the Los Angeles Rams travel to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. I've already let you know about that one in the weekend watch. I'm taking the Rams. I got the Rams winning handily. I don't think the Seahawks are ready for it. I mean, if you just watch what Seattle has done in the previous 4 weeks and what even their history is against the Rams, it's a bad matchup for them. The Rams are better than them on both sides of the ball. I don't think anything changes in that. They've won 6 of their last 8 against Seattle. It's now going to be 7 of their last 9, and the Rams will roll. It's a shame, and I know the 12s will come for me because y'all have a heavy social media presence, but that doesn't mean you're going to win the game. Y'all better figure something out. In the first slate of the 1 o'clock games, we got the New York Jets against the Atlanta Falcons. What a nasty game. That's what you would normally think of when you think of Thursday night football. But they fixed this for us. They put it in 1 o'clock. We don't have to watch it. Unless you're stuck to local TV, go to your local bar. Come to the $3 Cafe, rock with us. We're doing that over there. But the Jets and the Falcons, I mean, it's almost a pick 'em as to how bad both of these teams have been playing. But I can't pick the Jets to win. Like, I don't think I could pick the Jets to win any games. I don't know how the hell they beat the Titans. But it would be disrespectful to the Falcons for me to pick the Jets over them. The Jets don't have a defense for real, for real. Zach Wilson throws the ball up for grabs quite often. And, every now and then Matt Ryan does actually show up for a football game. I think that this will be the one game where you see, like, all right, like, yeah, Kyle Pitts looks like the number 4 pick in the draft. I think he gets off. Matt Ryan has a decent game. Zach Wilson throws a couple of interceptions. Falcons will get a win under the belt against a bad Jets team. Definitely taking Atlanta in this game. Oh, it is in London. Jesus. Yeah, that game is going to be at 9:30 in the morning. Crazy early. So, I mean, all day Sunday, we got football. Like, from before you wake up, because most of you on Sunday ain't getting up that early. When you wake up, the Falcons and the Jets will be like in the second quarter. So you got a little something to look at before you get real football. So then we got Green Bay at Cincy, also on the 1 o'clock docket. So, man, Green Bay Packers are traveling to Cincinnati. I think this is going to be a knockout, drag-out game. I wouldn't be surprised if Cincinnati got up early and you were like, man, what is going on? And Green Bay has to walk them down, or if it's just back and forth the entire game. I think this game is going to be close. I got Green Bay winning it, but I don't think they win it by a great margin. I think Cincinnati has actually proven to be a very good football team, and they will not get rolled. They'll lose, but they're not getting rolled. I think Cincinnati is about to put some respect on their own name. It's been a long time. I think back when Andy Dalton was actually somebody. Not in the Dallas days. So now we got the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. Detroit they've been in almost every game they played this year. It's been highly unfortunate. They had a play in the last game that was so bad, it's gotten a nickname worse than the Mark Sanchez butt fumble. The center snapped the ball when Jared Goff was walking up to the line, hit him right in his cup, was an interception, and now, like an unsuspecting idiot guy sending a picture to a female, they're labeling this play as the D pick. Like, Jesus, that's got to be one of the worst names for a play I've ever heard. If you go back and watch it, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's bad. That actually counted as an interception for Jared Goff. Like, he did not throw the ball. Like, Jesus. It's all bad. But, then Detroit against Minnesota, I have to take the Minnesota Vikings just because, Dalvin Cook is actually having a very good year. Kirk Cousins is not playing bad right now. Justin Jefferson is getting off once again. And as well as Detroit has been playing, then you can play your fantasy players that play for the Detroit Lions, but I wouldn't take them to win the game. I think they'll lose another close one because they are always in football games. And Jared Goff has not been playing bad. He's been not playing good enough to overcome such a horrible roster that he has around him. Sound familiar? Yeah, that's the same excuse you used to give to Matt Stafford. But now you don't like Jared Goff, so you say he sucks. It's not different. Then we got the Denver Broncos headed into Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Steelers have to figure something out. The Denver Broncos now feel like they've been exposed after they got smacked by the Baltimore Ravens. This is another defense, not as good as Baltimore, but they should actually give some resistance to Denver. They're going to need Teddy to be a lot better than what he was last week. They need their run game to work. But Denver does have a very good defense themselves. And as we all know, the Pittsburgh Steelers do not have a quarterback that can run like Lamar Jackson. So the run game will not be a problem. They should bring in Cam. I mean, if I was Pittsburgh, I would have called Cam weeks ago. Just like I wanted New England to do, Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. It ain't Ben Roethlisberger. It's not Mason Rudolph. It damn sure ain't Dwayne Haskins. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to lose this football game. And, I mean, as far as the hot seat, Mike Tomlin will never be on the hot seat because Pittsburgh is one of those organizations that they're too giving, too caring. They won't put in, like, they'll never get rid of a coach. Even though I dare someone to call in and argue with me that Mike Tomlin is any different than Barry Switzer or John Gruden. You won Super Bowls off the backs of the coach that was there before you and never were able to put anything else together. Just because you had winning seasons or 500 seasons, you ain't won nobody's Super Bowl. You know, how is that better than what anyone else has done? Doug Peterson won one Super Bowl and he got fired. Andy Reid has one. Mike McCarthy's got one. How is he better than them? Because Pittsburgh don't let nobody go? Yeah, I like Mike. He seems cool. He looks like Omar Epps. Maybe somebody give him a football, he can be like a man in the program. He's like, I hold on to it and run it. But outside of that, like, you haven't proven to me that you're the elite coach that your numbers suggest. I'm not sold. Not a Tomlin guy. So now we got the Miami Dolphins traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. The Dolphins, they look terrible. I don't know what the status on Tua is, so it's more than likely going to be another Jacoby Brissett start, which doesn't bode well for them. Tampa's defense hasn't been looking all that great lately, but their offense has been taking up the slack. They will absolutely handle Miami. I mean, if there's an astronomically large spread, I might be kind of scared of it, but I mean, I would definitely take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this game by at least 14 points. But this could be one of those that has like a 17 to 18 point spread. But the Bucs are winning that game, no question, hands down. We got the Saints traveling to Washington. That is that's a tricky one. So, I mean, if you look quarterback for quarterback, it's hard to be like, oh, Taylor Heinecke, like, but Jameis Winston is better than Taylor Heinecke, but is he? He has a better career than Taylor Heinecke, but in 2021 through 4 games, he's not better than Taylor Heinecke. I'm definitely going to pop me one of them green bottles of Heineken on this game right here. I think the Saints go down again. Because, I didn't really pick. I think I picked them to win 6 games this year. So I'm not surprised at what the Saints look like. Jameis Winston, he's trying. And Sean Payton has the training wheels on their offense. He let them throw deep every now and then, put Taysom Hill in the game. I think Chase Young has a field day. The Washington defense proves to be a little bit too much. And Taylor Heinecke has another big game. Because what we have seen against the Saints, if you can throw the football, you can score on them. Like, the Giants didn't run the ball all over, and they threw the ball to Saquon Barkley, and they passed the ball around. Danny Dimes went for 400 yards. Taylor Heinecke outdueled Danny Dimes in one of those great Thursday night matchups. Taylor Heinecke is going to win that game. I'm taking the Washington football team. So now we got another very interesting matchup. The Philadelphia Eagles against the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte. The Carolina Panthers, for all reasons, seem like they are the much better and far superior football team than the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Eagles have been in a lot of these games. And the Eagles just had a battle with the Kansas City Chiefs. They did get shut down by the Cowboys, and Carolina had a better showing against the Cowboys than the Eagles did. But Carolina has a porous rush defense. I think that could be a problem. For every reason that we feel like Carolina is better, which I do think Carolina is the better football team than the Philadelphia Eagles, but the Eagles can run the football and their quarterback can run. I think Jalen Hurts being able to run, this will be one of those where Hurts rushes for over 100 yards and throws for like 200, 250. And I think Carolina will get upset by the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. So I'm actually taking Philly in this game. And I'm pretty sure the Carolina fans are up in arms about that. Philly's winning. Watch. Tennessee at Jacksonville. The garbage Tennessee Titans, who just lost to the New York Jets, travel to Jacksonville to take on Trevor Lawrence and the Bad News Jaguars with Lapdance Meyer. I'm taking Tennessee again. There's no way in hell you can play that bad 2 weeks in a row. You blew the game against the Jets. They've got to rebound. Derrick Henry, he had a $157 last week, so I don't expect anything different this week. Only thing that needs to change is the red zone efficiency and a little bit of defense. You're playing against a rookie quarterback again. Granted, he is better than Zach Wilson. He has an even worse offensive line. He doesn't have any weapons. And at this point, Saleh is a better coach than Urban Meyer in the NFL, so Tennessee should win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's close. I wouldn't bet 2 cents on it. They will not catch me with that again. But Tennessee should win the game. If Tennessee doesn't win the game, then they need to be on suicide watch. Someone that's a close and trusted friend to Wes, go to his house and watch that with him. We got New England traveling to Houston to play the Texans. The Texans are bad. They just got beat 40-0 by Buffalo. They turned the ball over 5 times. Buffalo's defense isn't even that good. The type of defense that New England is bringing out, they should not have any issue beating the Houston Texans. It should look something similar to what the New York Jets game was. Something like a 27-6 type of game. It'll be mostly defense. Mac Jones should actually have a really good game. So New England shouldn't have any real issues beating the Houston Texans. Taking the Patriots there. And we got Chicago traveling to Las Vegas. Now, that's a very interesting one because these Raiders, actually, I didn't get to talk about the Raiders and the Chargers. I'm pretty sure there's Chargers fans that are upset about that. My bad. The Chargers look absolutely amazing. I can't even hate on y'all because I have been all season. But they look like one of the best teams in the AFC. But the Las Vegas Raiders, they don't show up for first halves of football games. Like the first 2 quarters, they just we don't want to play them. They don't ever show up. So, if you come out against Chicago and you give Justin Fields that kind of confidence that he can move the ball against you and do what he does, and then you try to get yet another comeback in the second half. The Raiders are the cardiac kids of the NFL right now. Every single week, they're coming back. They just couldn't come all the way back against the Chargers. They were very close. But, ultimately, I don't think that Chicago has the offensive line, the support system in place for Justin Fields to beat a team like Vegas. They beat Detroit. We're not going to overreact and act like Chicago has figured it out. The Raiders are far better than the Lions. The Raiders will win this football game. They just normally start off games like trash, so the game might be close because they might be down and have to come back as they've done almost every week this season. But they'll come back and win this one. We got Cleveland traveling to L.A. to play the Chargers. Already covered that one. I'm taking the Cleveland Browns, rushing attack and defense. A little bit too much for the Chargers to overcome. I think they take out Justin Herbert and crew. We got the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. That normally is a marquee matchup, but the Giants are trash and the Cowboys look really good. But it is a division game, so I can't just completely discount the fact that the Giants will show up for this football game. Dallas will beat them, but the game will actually be close. It should be a decent game to watch. The Dallas games are always on Fox. So, I mean, you're going to get that game. Daniel Jones, he should show up. You should get a little bit of something out of Saquon. I think it'll be another Zeke and Pollard heavy game where Dallas runs the ball a lot. Dak has a very efficient passing game. Dallas should come out of this matchup 4-1, sitting real nice at the top of the NFC East. We got San Francisco at Arizona. It's another monster matchup, but the big underlying thing here is who's starting a quarterback for San Francisco. If Jimmy G was playing, then I would feel comfortable rolling with San Francisco in this game, just like I did last week against Seattle. With Jimmy G out, they couldn't beat Seattle. With no Jimmy G, Arizona is better than Seattle, so there's no way I see them beating them, especially in Glendale. So I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals to beat the San Francisco 49ers and keep their undefeated streak rolling as the only unbeaten team left at 5-0. Give me AZ. We got Buffalo, Kansas City, the monster Sunday night matchup. For all the reasons that I outlined for you before, I'm absolutely taking the Kansas City Chiefs. Initially, I was taking the Bills because they're scoring so much. Kansas City defense so bad. But as I actually looked into what Buffalo was doing and against the teams that they were doing it against and the manner that it was happening, I don't trust the Buffalo Bills at all. They are absolutely fool's gold. I think all Kansas City has to do is fix the turnover issue, which they started to correct it last week against Philadelphia. I think they'll get it together. Kansas City is one of those teams that's going to be there. It doesn't matter how bad they start. They are one of those teams. The Chiefs will beat the Bills, and the Bills will be very butthurt about it after the fact. Last game on the slate, Monday Night Football, Indianapolis Colts at the Baltimore Raiders. The Colts just don't have offense. Carson Wentz is not that good, but I told you that when he was playing for Philly, and nothing changed. Baltimore has a really good defense. They are playing against a stout defense in Indy, so I don't think they beat Indy the same way that they did Denver. I think the game will be a little closer. I'm looking at Baltimore winning this game something to the tune of 27-20. They will win the game. I think they will get their 100 yards to break that record that they've been chasing from the 71-74 Pittsburgh Steelers. That seems like something that they actually really want to do. I mean, Harbaugh and Lamar acted like they didn't really want to speak on it to that extent, but somebody told them that they were close to beating that record, and they absolutely went back out there and ran a play to get it. I think they will beat that record on Monday Night Football. They'll stop the game so they can talk about it, and then Steeler fans like Jamila will be mad about it because that's just yet another Pittsburgh Steeler record wiped from the books. But Baltimore's going to win that. That's what this thing's going to look like next week. I hope y'all tuned in. Y'all took notes. Y'all got all the picks that I gave you. I got less than a minute left on this thing. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate my caller, J Real. Everybody in the chat. Hey, y'all make sure y'all tune in next week. We back on Tuesday night. My main man, Adam, will be back in the studio. Always keep it petty.
Very trippy.